Over the last few weeks, the reports have been that the Bulls have refused to up their offer from the $20 million average for Josh Giddey. Well, reports over the last couple of days have said that not only have the Bulls upped their offer to a little bit over $20 million per year, but also they could be willing to go a little bit further on it. We're talking about all that. Plus, we're going to be talking about Noa Essengue and what he can bring to the game and an interesting trade target for the Chicago Bulls if they're ready to move on from Josh Giddey, according to Quinn Everett. We're going to get to all that and more right after this. For everything Chicago Bulls related, I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content for today. Y'all, it's going to be very heavy Josh Giddey related. We've had a lot of kind of updates in regards to the Josh Giddey situation over the last 24 hours, and this was kind of expected after Cam Thomas decided to take the qualifying offer. It opened up some things for the Chicago Bulls, and you know, like I do think you're going to see there was always going to be a scenario in which one of these restricted free agent deals happen, and then I think you see the dominoes fall after that. And so we've had, over the last 24 hours, we've had a lot of kind of updates in regards to where these restricted free agents now sit, what could be happening for them, updates on things like Casey Johnson has verified some things as well himself. Bobby Marks came out later in the day and had some things. So initially yesterday, and we have an episode out on this, we heard that the Bulls have made their final offer to Josh Giddey of 4 years, $88 million, right? And that brings it up to $22 million. So that means that the Bulls have come off their initial offering of $20 million and have gotten closer to the middle, right? $3 more million a year, which is not anything to shake your head at, right? That's an additional $12 million over the course of the contract. Will get you right towards the middle of exactly between the two sides on things. And, you know, reportedly, you know, when it came out and said that that was the Bulls' final offer, it made some sense. It's the Bulls giving it a little bit more, right? And I had made the suggestion that maybe both sides can agree on incentives in the deal. Maybe the incentives can push the deal up to about an average of $24 million each if the Bulls and Josh Giddey can agree on that type of deal to laden that with incentives over the course of that time. But again, that was me thinking about it. Then Bobby Marks came out later in the day and basically said that the Bulls have actually upped their offer to near $90 million. Now, that may sound like a lot more, but keep in mind, $90 million is only an additional $500,000 each year. It's not like it sounds like a lot more money because you're adding $2 more million into the deal over the course, but that's just $500,000 each over the last few years. And so, you know, take that for what you will in that one, right? And Bobby Marks saying this, the number is still the bottom of starting point guards here. And if you're the Bulls who just committed 5 years, $90 million in Patrick Williams on a lesser body of work, now you're all of a sudden drawing a line in the sand as far as where you are with Josh Giddey. And that's been something a lot of people have mentioned. Even I would say Josh Giddey, people who aren't necessarily the biggest Josh Giddey fans have looked at this and said, well, the P. Will thing makes this really weird that you're having this hardline stance with Giddy, but you didn't with P. Will, who was a lot more unproven of a player. And I mean, people are going to say, I already know the naysayers are going to be like, what do you mean Josh Giddey's a lot more unproven? Josh Giddey was much like P. Will, was like the fourth option on that Oklahoma City Thunder team. And go and look at his numbers and how many different areas of the game that he impacted over P. Will. I'm just saying that. And so it is interesting. Now, I've said it before, and I maintain saying it. If you want your team to learn and negotiate, and you want them to actually negotiate, negotiation is negotiation, and the Bulls are actually using the leverage that they have. The question now is, are they using it? Are they overusing to the point to where you're alienating a young player that you have said over the summer is a foundational piece for you? That's what makes all this even the more strange. It's the communication around the Josh Giddey thing versus the way that it's been handled. It's not in line, right? So I get, and like I said, I can understand the Bulls using the leverage that they have. Teams are going to try to use whatever leverage that they have. At some point, though, something has to give, whether it's the player or the Bulls. And at this point now, it seems like the Bulls have given a little bit. The question now is Josh Giddey going to give a little too, right? Because if the Bulls now come off their initial offer of $2 additional million, and Josh Giddey also comes off his initial of additional $2 million, and they still meet in the middle somewhere. So let's say the Bulls have now come up to $22 million. Josh Giddey goes down to $28 million. What's the difference between those two numbers? About $24 million, right? And if the Bulls can get to that place, if they can get to $24 million, I do think that this deal gets done. Personally, I think if you get to an annual average value of $24 million, I think this deal gets done. It gets done pretty quickly, I would say. Like, I think Josh Giddey and his agent at this point in time, via what's happened and how this has gone over this summer, I think that both sides agree to that. Now, you're going to have your Josh Giddey stands that say, oh, my God, the Bulls have disrespected Josh Giddey so much, he's going to get out of their first chance he quit. And he very well may. I mean, let's be clear. He very well may. There could absolutely be a scenario in which Josh Giddey takes this so he can lock in his long-term money. But what I keep saying with this is that I don't necessarily think that the qualifying offer is going to be something Josh Giddey's going to take. We shall see. We got about 26 more days until we get to that point, and we'll see what happens there. Now, in Bobby Marks' reporting, he does also note this, that if the Bulls don't up their offer a little bit more, that Josh Giddey could very well pull a Cam Thomas and take the qualifying offer. So for the people that are like, oh, Josh Giddey's going to end up taking the qualifying offer, there goes your carrot there. It's a possibility, right? And I always call that the nuclear option, right? I think that is, and I've said this, Josh Giddey could wake up one morning, get an update from his agent, and literally look at the agent and say, you know what? Fuck this. Bring me the paperwork for the qualifying offer. It could literally happen. I'm not, and listen, I would hope, the way that I hope that Josh Giddey would do that is literally Josh Giddey would be like, what's the last offer? Oh, they're offering $22 million. Oh, really? On phone them? Yeah, they're offering $22 million. Bet on bro. Give me. Let me get this contract, man. Let's sign this qualifying offer. Let me get the fuck up out of here. Like, I would hope that Josh Giddey says it that way. I hope he's been hanging out with Modest enough to pick up the lingo, right? But this thing, it does seem, and I've said over in the Discord, is that I can completely see this thing getting to the place where a deal gets done by Monday. Not just for Josh Giddey. I think except for Quentin Grimes thing is weird. Like, it's been even more quiet on Quentin Grimes, and that may be because just the weird nature of how he went off for his points when everybody was basically gone on that 76ers team. But I do think that this thing gets done by Monday. I really, it feels like that. Like, even Bobby Marks and we've had other people come out and say that the Bulls could be willing, because they still don't want Josh Giddey to take the qualifying offer. And this is via reports from Marks and others, is that the Bulls they actually do want Josh Giddey here long term. Apparently, they just want it on their terms. And we'll see if that ends up working out. But, I think that this deal gets done sooner rather than later. I think we're coming down to the wire now of this deal getting done. Keep in mind, the deadline that you keep hearing about, October 1st, is to take the qualifying offer. It does not mean that Josh Giddey can hold out. Technically, Josh Childress was a restricted free agent for 3 years. He did go play overseas, but he was a restricted free agent in the NBA for 3 years. So there's no timeline on the overall restricted free agency part of it. Technically, if Josh Giddey wanted to sit out all of the 2025-26 NBA season, not have a deal and sign to play over in the NBL and tell the Bulls, all right, bet, get your shit together. We'll talk again next summer. They could very well do that. And again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Josh Giddey wants to be in the NBA. I think he wants to be, with the Chicago Bulls and have that long-term security. But again, that doesn't mean you're going to take if you feel it as disrespect. And that's going to be that's the part that nobody really knows about this. Josh Giddey hasn't been giving any interviews, even while he's been over in Australia. He hasn't sat down and done any exposés, right? So we don't really have a feeling on if Josh Giddey is taking this whole thing from the Chicago Bulls as a huge sign of disrespect. For all we know, Josh Giddey could be sitting at his home every day like, hey, man, listen, these Bulls got me fucked up, bro. These, I can't wait till I get up out of Chicago. It's cool. I'm 22. I got 3 years. When I'm 25, listen, I'm going to play in New York. And I just threw that out there as a team. But we don't know, and that's going to be the thing that we won't really get a full picture on until we see once Josh Giddey does sign and he's here in Chicago and how the vibes are with the front office and Josh Giddey. Believe me, signs will start coming out over the course of the season. If Josh Giddey signs a long-term deal here, we'll start hearing how he feels and stuff like that as the season goes on. And Media Day is going to be another thing where I know if Josh Giddey is signed by Media Day, the whole Media Day is going to be built around Josh Giddey and the free agency. Josh Giddey's going to be asked about it. Kobe's going to be asked about it and what that means for his restricted free agency, how he feels about it. I was going to be asked about his return and what he felt about Josh Giddey. Buzelis is going to be asked about it in his Instagram post over the summer about Josh Giddey. Like, all this, where all this stuff is going to go, right? Media Day is going to be very Josh Giddey heavy one way or another. Because if Josh Giddey is not signed by Media Day, oh my God, this shit show that is going to be for Bulls players. And that may be why the Bulls are just like, hey, listen, I get it, we got a deadline, but we need to get this done by Media Day, fam. We need to get this done. So, we'll see what happens with that one. But overall, it does seem like the Bulls have now come up. They've upped their offer from $88 million to $80 million. They've upped their offer. So that's $8 million over the course of the contract, $2 extra million over the course each season for Josh Giddey. And we'll just see how things shake out from that point. Could they go up to $90 million? That's not really that much of an increase. Could they go to 94? If the Bulls go to 92, 94-ish million, I think this deal gets done. That's my personal opinion, but I guess we'll see how that shakes out. But with that said, Quinn Everett, a writer over at Pippen Ain't Easy, has an interesting scenario for the Bulls if they decide to move on from Josh Giddey. And he talks about the Bulls potentially targeting Trae Young to replace Josh Giddey. And I'm gonna get into what the article says, and then I'll get into my thoughts. So Quinn Everett is presenting this following trade package: Josh Giddey, Isaac Okoro, Zach Collins, the 2026, 28, and 30 first-round picks for only Trae Young. No. Fuck no, is what I'm saying to this deal. I'm sorry, I know, and people have said it. They're like, listen, Hayes, I love the podcast, but you be cursing, and I can't listen to it on my speakers at work. I can't listen to it around you. Don't bring your kids to Chicago Bulls Central unless they're over the age of 15, 16, and they're doing whatever they want to do. Don't do that. Don't listen to Chicago Bulls Central with your 5 and 6 years olds in the car unless you want them to be having the best your mama jokes and be able to roast people. Don't do that. But to get back to this article, Josh Giddey, Isaac Okoro, Zach Collins, 2026, 28, and 30 first-round picks. You want to give up 3 future first-round picks for Trae Young. Now, don't get me wrong. Trae Young is a really good facilitator. His shooting, the efficiency comes up. Trae Young has this reputation of being an amazing three-point shooter, and really, he's just a decent three-point shooter. Like, don't get me wrong. He can absolutely go off from 3. Absolutely go off from 3. Make no mistake about it. He can go off from three-point range. I want to be clear in that one. But when you look at the shooting splits, the actual numbers, he is a very inconsistent player when it comes to season three-point shooting. He goes between having 34% seasons to 37, 38% seasons, like every other year. He's 34%, he's 37.5%, 34%, 38.2%. He's not the amazing. He's a career 35% three-point shooter. Let's be clear here. Josh Giddey shot a better percentage from 3 than Trae Young last year on not that many less attempts. So I'm just saying, right? But what he does bring facilitating wise, he is the engine. He is the player that can be the engine of your offense. But for Atlanta Hawks team that has flirted around having almost the same record as the Chicago Bulls the last few years, ever since the Hawks, they did go to the Eastern Conference Finals, so they have had higher highs than the Chicago Bulls over the last decade. Make no mistake about it. But they've never really had a much different record than the Chicago Bulls, right? So, and some people would even say that maybe over the years they've had more talent than the Bulls. I love Jalen Johnson. I love Dyson Daniels. This seems more like an article that's written in a way to get Josh Giddey to team up with one of his best friends in Dyson Daniels. He does say, Quinn Everett does say in this article that this would be a desperation move from both teams. I don't know how this is a desperation move by the Hawks to get 3 first-round picks for Trae Young. That's not desperation. Now, we get it that the Hawks have come out over this offseason and basically have said that, they're waiting and seeing how Trae Young looks with this roster that they've constructed in a more open Eastern Conference and how he really jives with the more younger direction that they've gone before they sign him to a contract extension. But there are a couple of things that would actually harpen this from happening. A, Josh Giddey isn't under contract, and you can't trade him right now. Technically you can do a sign and trade. Yes, you can. But that would mean that the Hawks have said, hey, based off where things are in this offseason, we know we're not keeping Trae. Let's trade him now. I don't think that happens. If Josh Giddey does take the qualifying offer, you're not going to move him for that. It's not going to happen. So that's not going to be on the table. So I get what they're getting at with this. But to give up 3 first-round picks for a player in Trae Young who could potentially be a free agent next year or the year after that, where the Bulls still do have tremendous cap space, and that is probably also why the Bulls do play a little bit more hardball with Josh Giddey in these scenarios, is because they do have tremendous cap space next year to completely change the direction of the roster. So while right now the roster is built, the offense, it benefits greatly from what Josh Giddey does rebounding, passing-wise, pushing the break, all those type of things. It benefits greatly from all of that. You could very well change the roster to where you don't need that. You can grow Modest Buzelis as a playmaker and a point forward to where maybe you don't need that. And he brings a lot of those things, being able to, he's not nearly the playmaker that Josh Giddey is right now, or I would say hasn't shown himself to be the consistent rebounder that he is yet either. So there you go on that one. So I think when it comes down to it, you got to look at it this way, is that Quinn Everett is trying to come up with a scenario that the Bulls can pivot and still get a point guard of the now and in the future. And for that, I can't be mad at it. What I can say, though, is that giving up 3 unprotected first-round picks, where the Bulls are right now, this is the type of move that the Bulls made when they acquired Nikola Vucevic. And in no way am I comparing Trae Young to Vooch. I'm not doing that. But to give up that much of your future for a team that is not a playoff team yet, and for a player that has had his team in the play-in, just like the Chicago Bulls have been in the play-in, to me, is not where the Bulls need to be right now. And no matter how you feel about Trae Young, how good you feel like that he is just as much of a defensive liability, if not more so, than Josh Giddey is. He's not nearly the rebounder. And while I would not, if let's say the Bulls, Josh Giddey takes the qualifying offer, and Josh Giddey then becomes an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 26, and Trae Young also opts out because I think he has a player option, and he's an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 26, and you sign Trae Young because Josh Giddey goes elsewhere, I'm not shitting on you for that. But to give up 3 first-round picks to acquire Trae Young with the state that this Bulls team is currently in, to me, I don't feel it. And I know there are going to be some people that say, well, it's the Bulls taking a risk. We want this Bulls team to take a risk. Risk for risk's sake ain't it. That's not it. That's not it. To take away your best asset, and keep in mind, it's not like Trae Young has been a huge free agent draw for the Atlanta Hawks either. So again, you can make a case to me if you said, well, listen, the Bulls get Trae Young. Trae Young's going to recruit XYZ because these players are going to want to come play with Trae Young. They're going to want to come play with Trae. They're going to want to play with Modest. They're going to want to come play with Kobe. Yeah, but I haven't seen nothing to prove that. And to me, that's a huge risk. Again, if you're going to give up first-round picks, you better be able to bring in some veterans. And the Bulls, as it stands right now, have no sign or indication that they can bring in those veterans. So I'm good on this. I'm good on this trade. I don't think that this trade works out for the Chicago Bulls. I don't think this is one that is sensible for where the team is right now. Yes, it is the team taking a risk. And for some Bulls fans, they just want to see this team do something. But I'm not that Bulls fan. I don't want to see you just do something to do something so then I can feel like, oh my God, this team's finally they made their swing. No, I want to see you take calculated risk. I want to see you take smart moves. I want to see you take things that actually push forward this team or either give you an asset that is so amazing. Again, I'm not against the Bulls trading first-round picks. It's who you trade those first-round picks for that I think matters in a case like that. I guess we'll see how that shakes out. You guys can let me know how you feel down below on that. With that said, I want to go into the last topic for today. We've been talking a lot about Noa Essengue since the G League came up. And a lot of people have been making and asking, like, okay, Hayes, what does Noa Essengue bring to this team? Potentially, what could get him into the starting lineup? I've already talked about the defense, the switchability, the shot blocking. Those are 3 things that he can hang his hat on to get the Bulls, to get on the actual roster and get minutes for the actual Bulls next year. I still don't think that's going to get you a whole lot of minutes. But then there's something else that he could bring, and that's free throw attempts. I know that may seem like a weird thing to play for a player, but when you look at it, I've said Josh Giddey needs to get to the free throw line more. Kobe White needs to get to the free throw line more. And I think this is evident in the fact that the Bulls were last, were 30th in the league in free throw attempts per game at 19. 19 after the All-Star break. And when you look at a player like Noa Essengue, who basically has averaged 4 to 5 free throws a game for the entirety of his career. Now, his shooting is not amazing, right? And we know that Noa Essengue, one of the things that he's going to have to work on early on in the NBA is how consistent of a shooter can Noah be and how early can he be that. But in the meantime, what can you do to help with that? And getting to the free throw line is something that he can do. Noa Essengue averaged 4.8 free throws in only 22.8 minutes a game across 60 appearances in Euro Cup last year, and the German Cup for that matter. Almost a third of his points came from the free throw line. There you go on that one. And then when you look at it, he was the only player to average lower than 23 minutes per game, yet still have over 4 free throws per game. Now, the NBA game is much different. The physicality is much different. And nobody's to say that that is going to necessarily translate right away for Noa Essengue, but there's something that you can look. You look at what he did also when he with physicality in the NBA, in the Summer League. He averaged 4.3 free throw attempts per game in Summer League. That's when you factor in the fact that he only had 2 free throw attempts against the Toronto Raptors, 7 against the Sacramento Kings, 4 against the Pacers, and he went 8 of 13 in that. Noa Essengue getting to the free throw line could be a path for him, especially with him being a big, especially with him being active around the rebounds, going after putbacks. These are things that it could lead to Noa Essengue having an opportunity, right, to bring and draw free throws. And as a rookie, if you can draw free throws and get to the free throw line and get points that way, that then probably translates for you for your career. And then as you add your shot, and he's already a player that can dribble the ball as well. Like we talked about the unicorn status of Noa Essengue and how he can prove that over his NBA career. So I listen, Noah has, I think, more things that could translate to the NBA than people have given him credit for. Now, under Billy Donovan, you still don't expect him to play a lot. And I still expect him to spend some time in the G League. It's going to be interesting to see how much of that translates over to the G League. But I'm not going to count out that Noah earns minutes by the end of the season. I do think it's going to be a little rough for him to start early on. I mean, start getting minutes, not start. He's definitely not going to be in the starting lineup, but to get minutes. But I think that Noah is, I think there are more translatable skills than what I even thought initially for Noa Essengue. We just got to see if those are going to come into reality for Noah, but we shall see. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.